It's a good thing goats have 4 stomachs. Otherwise, there's no way we could swallow some of these takes.
Hey, goat, what's going on out there?
103.3 The Goat, the greatest sports talk of all time.
Great Scott!
The Great Scott Show.
And as they head into the final furlong, all of the other radio stations and radio hosts are left in the wake of a keen turn of speed by the Great Scott Show, the champion.
With Scott Prather.
Steal the show.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome into the Great Scott Show. How is everybody? Did everyone have a good weekend? The Saints didn't play yesterday, so they couldn't mess with my mood. The Pelicans did. They did mess with my mood in a good way. The college football playoff is set. It's official. Independence Bowl. We said it a lot. Felt like that was a likely place for them to go. I said it on the show last week. I think the Independence Bowl would love to have UL versus Houston. And there you have it. That's what it's going to be, December 23rd. So you got that set. High school football playoffs, what a night it was. STM-LCA going to play for a state title Friday. VC going to be playing for a state title against the Ouachita Thursday. Those are your local teams still involved. A lot to get into. We got Big Blaise Bro and Nasty Nick Jeremy. They are in studio with me this morning. They're drinking coffee. They're doing their best to wake up.
Gotcha.
Hit it. Just take a big gulp there. There's Blaze taking a big gulp. He'll fill those things up, too.
Oh, yeah.
At what point do they kick in for you?
I'll be honest, it's like a 30-minute, like them 5-hour energies. For me, it's like a 30-minute energy. It's just like the crash is almost like worse than the actual pump up.
Oh my gosh, dude.
But it gets the juices flowing sometimes, because sometimes it's just really hard to just get it going.
So we're going to monitor Blaze
Yeah,
throughout the
sure
show
he's okay.
this morning.
I see my head bobbing back and forth.
Blaze, I think a very important question. I think your mother wants to know as well. Who won the weekend in sports?
Yeah.
I'm going to say the world of college football, because Alabama did not make the playoffs. So that's always a happy time whenever you just don't see Nick Saban and Alabama succeed. As much as we respect the dynasty, I think we all smile on the inside when it doesn't go as planned for them.
Well, I think this year in particular, the fact that they had 2 losses, it was like they're going to put a 2-loss team in. Yeah, and if they do, it's like it probably would be Alabama.
Yeah.
A 2-loss non-conference champion in, and they had...
They ended up first out,
I mean, I think they had a strong case. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no,
I'm just saying.
Listen, I agree.
They still ended up first out.
Yeah.
I think if they'd have made it to the conference championship, it'd have been a different story for the committee. But the fact that they were a 2-loss and didn't even make it to the conference championship, I think that's what ultimately sealed their fate.
Right. Yeah, probably so. But if you had 2 losses and just lost to Georgia, are they going to put them in to play Georgia again?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
the bottom line is it didn't happen. Didn't happen. Oh, by the way, Hall of Fame as well. Baseball Hall of Fame. We'll dig into that. That's just of everything that happened, plus the World Cup. The lads had an exit on Saturday morning, unfortunately.
Oof. Yeah.
But it is, again, we got a lot to chew on. The phone lines are open for you throughout the morning. 337-269-1077 if you want to get in on the show. Nick, who won the weekend in sports?
Man, I would have to say just because I just watched it at the end of the other night, Joe Burrow. Beating Patrick Mahomes 3 times in a single calendar year, and managing to just put up all kinds of numbers and lead an offense to a 4th straight win against probably the most dangerous team in the AFC.
The Bengals are rolling right now.
They're doing the exact same thing they did last year.
They really are. They were going into yesterday's game. They had the same record they did a year ago, and they're getting hot at the right time with a chance to win the division.
They're getting healthy at the right time too. They're starting to get some guys back.
They're and a lot of folks didn't even have them getting back to the postseason. Now they're not there yet. Your fortune can change really quick in the NFL. The Niners suddenly were up and coming, and here they come, and look out, and they've now won 5 in a row, and now Jimmy Garoppolo's done for the season with a broken foot.
Oof.
So suddenly Geno and the Seahawks are like, oh, well, maybe we still can get in there. Niners actually might still win, regardless of who they put at quarterback with that defense. But yeah, man. All right, there's some good candidates. I'll just say Fred McGriff, so we can get the baseball out of the way. He was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. That's awesome. Fred McGriff, who was known by many as the guy on the Tom Amansky baseball instructional videos. Y'all probably aren't old enough to remember this. I don't think I'm old enough to remember that. This is a training video that gets results. So when I was young, they would have the best way to describe it was you'd often see what felt like an infomercial, but it wasn't because it was only as long as a commercial. So it might just be 1 minute long, but not your traditional hey, isn't this Kraft mac and cheese great, or Sunny D or stuff like that. So you're a kid, you're watching kid shows, and then there would be this Tom Amansky instructional baseball video commercial. But first of all, I'm so much older than you. I'm sorry. I mean, y'all know what an infomercial is? Yeah. Okay. And at the end, they're always like, call this number, and they flash it. So back then, it was a video that looked like it was produced by a college student back when you would still use Beta and other stuff back then to make commercials. Right. And it would be all these kids, and they'd be going through these drills, and it was basically promising if you want to be elite, this video will help you get there. And they're doing all these things, and as a kid, you were kind of like, dang, yeah. I'm in. If you were a baseball player, you're like, I need that video. And out of nowhere, it's Fred McGriff, but not in his team uniform. He just points at the camera and he goes, this is an instructional baseball video that gets results. And it says Fred McGriff on the bottom. And somehow, to this day, he's almost 60. He's going into the Hall of Fame. And I will not be surprised if at some point in his speech he mentions Tom Amansky in that video, because he still gets asked about it to this day. It was one of the, people that remember it know what I'm talking about, and people that don't are like, I have no idea. But it was definitely one of those you just kind of had to be there. You could be watching Saturday morning cartoons. You could be watching also a game, a sporting event or something. And
that sounds Ben and Nick might know what I'm talking about. The P90X commercials. Oh yeah, it was just ripped guy just standing there and be like, "You want abs?" And he's just it's just a video of him doing crunches for an hour.
You want abs?
It was about that eloquent.
Yeah, it was just.
You want to get ripped?
You want to get ripped?
All right, here we
P90X.
go. Y'all ready? We're gonna play the audio for everybody. I didn't think this is how we were going to start, but shout out Fred McGriff, and you guys can actually see the video. But this thing would come on, if this is the one, this thing would come on all the time. This is the
best time of the year.
Let me mute Arnold Schwarzenegger for a minute as this ad plays.
Shout out World of Tanks, though.
Discover the defensive training secrets of America's finest baseball school in an exciting videotape. Baseball World's Defensive Drills video features professional scout and instructor Tom Amansky and the same revolutionary new training techniques that have produced Baseball World's back-to-back-to-back AAU national championship teams. The Defensive Drills video vastly improves players' arm strength, running speed, quickness, agility, and infield and outfield defensive skills. Even coaches practice organization. Lou Pavlovich, senior editor of Collegiate Baseball magazine, calls it a masterpiece, the best defensive drill video ever produced. Many professional players are excited about this videotape. Just ask Atlanta Braves superstar Fred McGriff.
This is the instructional video that gets results.
Baseball World's Defensive Drills video makes a great gift and benefits players of all ages and ability levels. To order your copy for only $29.95, have your credit card ready and call toll-free. 1-800-253-8005. That's 1-800-253-8005.
It really
Some athletes are built to act and some just aren't.
Hey, that thing did very well for him, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it didn't do very well for you based on the fact that you're not a retired MLB player.
I didn't really play baseball, to be honest.
Wow, that's fair.
I didn't really play baseball. It says, man, this thing feels like it came out. It says 96 on here. I don't know why I feel like I remember watching it when I was 10. I don't remember being in high school when that commercial came out. Anyway, there you have it. You learned a little something. Y'all remember when you heard the throwback to the Extreme Baby Cakes thing?
Yeah.
I referenced Tom Amansky in that. I screamed it. Yeah. Anyways, this is not the first time, y'all. Shout out Fred McGriff. I'll say he won the weekend in sports as he got into the Hall of Fame. Bonds, Clemens, Schilling. Bonds received 260 of the 394 votes. Other guys like, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. So I guess shout out Fred McGriff and Tom Amansky.
There you go.
Hall of Fame. All right, 13 after the hour. Let me ask you, let's get back to football. That's my fault. We got off track.
No, I'm all for it.
This is an instructional video that gets results. Check that. Did the College Football Playoff Committee get it right?
Yes, absolutely. Not just with the 4 teams, but with the order of the 4 teams too, with the matchups. Because I didn't want to see Michigan, Ohio State again. We already saw it. I don't want to see that again.
You might.
I mean, maybe
you might see it in the national championship game.
But if you see it again, it'll really matter.
But if I see it again, then it'll be earned. It'll be deserved. I don't want to see it again right now. I want to see something new. And I honestly think if TCU was going against Georgia, that game would have been a snooze fest. But I think TCU and Michigan are a lot more interesting because of the contrast in offensive styles. Michigan is a bully ball, ground and pound. They're going to run you into the dirt. And TCU is a throw it all over the field, finesse sort of team with Max Duggan. By the way, gutsy performance from him. I don't know if anybody watched the Big 12 championship game. What a performance from Max Duggan.
Gosh,
heartbreaking for him. I mean, they still got into the playoffs, so you're happy for the guy. But, he looked crushed at the end of that game. Max Duggan, what a performance by him. But I think the matchups that you have now with Ohio State and Georgia, TCU and Michigan, I think, honestly, this is probably one of the most intriguing playoff matchups, playoff slates that I've seen in quite some time. Over the past couple of years, you just kind of got the feeling, especially last year, Bama, Cincinnati, you knew what that game was going to be. Bama, Oklahoma, LSU, Oklahoma
again, and then Bama, Oklahoma again.
And you kind of always knew what those games were going to be. Georgia, Michigan, I know people thought I didn't think that was going to be a close game last year, and it wasn't. So, I mean, but this year, these games, they feel like they're going to be interesting games to watch, more so than the past couple of years for me.
What do you think, Nick? You think they got it right?
I do. I think I'm really first off, I'm really happy that TCU got in. I think that the entirety of their season is good enough that the loss to Kansas State doesn't really hurt anything, in my opinion, for the sake of their overall success. And yeah, like Max Duggan literally could not stand up after some of those plays towards the end of the game. Like, he was giving all he had left. And, hate to bring up off the field stuff, but this is also, he played the first game of the season 4 weeks after an open heart surgery. So, like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty BA.
You don't need to hate to bring that up. It's a good thing to bring up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's notable.
Shows what kind of player he is.
Yeah, he's got plenty of heart.
Sonny Dykes.
Yeah.
He is. To me, he has not been getting enough talk about in like the big sports talk media with, like, on the college football shows about the job he has done. I don't think people realize how bad and miserable TCU was just a year ago. I mean, they weren't that great of a program, and for him to come back and bring them to the playoff in his first year. I mean, we talk about Brian Kelly in his success.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is ridiculous what Sonny Dykes has done.
But when I was young, TCU was in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
There you go, yeah.
It's not like this Big 12 thing is, and, there's a Houston team that'll be in the Big 12 soon that's playing the Cajuns in the Independence Bowl. But you've seen some teams from the state of Texas evolve over the years, and for TCU, they went from being one of the best mid-majors to now in the college football playoff. And yet I've heard guys all over the place. Well, yeah, but I mean, if they were playing Bama, they'd lose by 50. Or if they were doing this, they would lose by this. I've heard that a lot about TCU. Is that fair or foul?
I'm sorry?
Is that fair or foul?
Is it fair?
I think that's. I don't think that. It depends, right? SEC teams are hard to beat because of the defense, because they play hard, and that they would be specifically geared to stop a Big 12 offense, and they would be specifically geared to score against the Big 12 defense. But I think, you talk about your Ohio States, your Michigans, I think TCU is well equipped to take on a team like that, even though they may be bigger in market, bigger in legacy.
Yeah, maybe not market, but certainly college football market.
College football market,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think they're bigger. I think they're definitely geared to take on. I mean, I would say you put TCU against this LSU team, they have a shot.
Yeah, no, probably more than
this
a shot.
Alabama team, they have more than a shot too.
More than a shot. To me, it's like it doesn't matter. Like,
right.
People use the argument, and I don't mean that in terms of your take or anything. I just mean the idea of, well, if this happened, then that would happen. It's like everyone always gets like they get tunnel vision for their argument of, well, no, they're supposed to put the best teams in. And even if guys on the committee say that, that's not actually what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're putting the most deserving teams in based on their body of work. The best team does not always win the game. If it did, there'd be no such thing as an underdog.
Right.
Like, we don't crown the best in sports. We crown champions. And I know it's a concept that's hard for people to, like, accept.
That's a really good point.
But it's the truth. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't... If even if TCU had won, I mean, they lost in overtime, it would be, oh, well, they're probably they're not going to do this or that. They'd probably lose by this much. It's like it doesn't. They won all their games in the Big 12, and they only lost one in a season where a bunch of teams ended up losing. Like, that's not. It's not necessarily about the four best, because if it was, most of the time the committee would just say, well, even though they've cannibalized each other a little bit, we think the SEC is the best, so we're just going to do this. I mean, how that would not be fun, with respect. You don't want an SEC tournament. Now, I do
want an SEC tournament, but
when you move to 12 teams in 2 years, there'll probably be several SEC. Alabama would have been in, and Tennessee would have been in, and like it'll change things for sure. But the idea of, well, they'd probably lose to this team by this. I mean, look, I'm not going to lie to you. When Washington got in and Michigan State got in, those college football semifinal games were horrendous. The ratings were bad. They put them on New Year's Eve for some reason, and they were blowouts, and they were forgettable. And, some would say, Notre Dame. And it's like, were you going to take them out and put a 2-3 loss team in because they might have lost to that team on paper, according to you? The regular season has to mean something.
Right. Yeah.
And for me, we crown champions. We don't crown the best. We crown, and you could say, well, that means they're the best. I mean,
it means they were the best in the games they played.
They were the best that day.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean necessarily, because if you get rid of the underdog, then, like, what are we even doing?
What are we playing?
I mean, there's... When an underdog wins a championship, it's awesome. When like in a 12-team playoff, Tulane would be in. And even if they just won a game, it would be like massive.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the same way, March Madness and all that other stuff. And even if they lost or got blown out, it would still be massive because they got in. And for some teams, like for Michigan, for a minute there, even though I know they've won more games than any team in college football history, probably because they've been around for like a gazillion years, but there was a brief period of time where it's like we're building back to what we want to be, and we're happy to be here. They're not happy to be there now. They want to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, where are you as a team? Expectations, who deserves to be there? You can argue all you want about who's the best, and I think Georgia's the best. But, like, the regular season has to mean something. And for Ohio State, I get it. They got beat down. I mean, granted, in the fourth quarter, it was close for a while, but they got beat pretty handily when all was said and done by Michigan. But, like, Georgia was kind of a season ago, they were in the same spot Ohio State is right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then they go out and they win, like, in dominant fashion in the college football playoffs. So, like, I'm not picking Ohio State to win it all. I'm just saying they get that extra shot, and some people down here are dogging them. Well, it's just because of Ohio State. Well, if Bama had only lost one game, they'd be in, and it would just be because they're Alabama. Yeah. The idea that there's inherent bias, of course there is. But a lot of times it's earned. Let's not act like Ohio State has sucked the last 5-6 years. Let's not act like Alabama hasn't been good. I mean, it's all part of the process, that's just how it goes.
What's the saying? Like, I'm gonna butcher this, but I know what I'm trying to get at. If, like,
it's called, the saying is, this is an instructional video that gets results.
It gets results. No, it's like if ifs and wins were dollars and cents, everyone would be a millionaire or something to that effect.
If and buts, I don't know. Yeah,
sure.
Maybe not butts. I don't know.
Not butts.
Whoa, now.
Hey, well, everyone would be a millionaire. So, like, you can't just live your whole life, and this is in real life, but also in sports. Like, if this. We didn't get if this. We got what we got.
Yeah.
And you got to go off.
It's also the beauty of sports debate, right?
Yeah, of course, sure.
Is college football like where fans debate the most about something that will never, ever actually be proven?
Yeah, I think so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think so.
It's
I mean, I get the whole, like, there are certain things that'll never be proven. It's all just opinion-based and, you know, the MJ, LeBron, stuff like that. Like historically, it can't happen. But in college football, it's like that team is around at the same time as this team, but they just won't play one another. And yet their fans are going to scream into the abyss about how they'd beat them or they do this or they do that. And in a lot of other sports, at least in
pretty much all college sports are like that.
You could end up maybe, I guess college sports in general is where you can scream the most.
Like the who is the best team of all time argument. People always want to talk about the 2019 LSU team versus one of the Miami teams.
Yeah, you can't actually prove that.
Exactly.
Right? But like those, I must say, those kind of debates are like had in I think every sport.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is in college football, I mean like in the context of even like a single season.
Yeah.
We deserve to be in and you don't. Something like that. Like it'll and even the last month, all these different fan bases, well, we deserve to be in, and then one will stub their toe, and then suddenly they're like, yeah, you see, you were wrong. It's like, well, no. And then that team loses. It's like, no, you were wrong. And they'll just go back and forth and they'll never actually get to play one another. And it's like, I don't know, they just it's kind of awesome. Yeah. They just keep screaming. They'll be really passionate about it. And in their mind, they're like, well, you can never prove me wrong. So
yeah.
So I'm right somehow.
I would say the only other sport that leads to anything close to the similar amount of discussion, like you could say NFL, but then at the end of the day, the NFL, almost everybody gets a chance to play each other.
Yeah, and if you don't, it's because you lost in the playoffs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. And so like
not because you were voted out.
Right.
You know?
At the end of the day, it almost feels like, and again, this is not even a similar situation, but like in baseball, you'll get like player comparisons, and like if this guy was facing this guy on the mound, and this and this and that, and this guy's fielding is bad, and this guy's this is whatever.
And this is an instructional video.
Is an instructional video.
Sorry,
no, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's like college sports are up here, then there's like baseball, and then there's everything else. You know what I'm saying? In terms of just pure debate.
Pure debate that will go pure debate based on current events that will never be proven. Not like current versus past, but just like literally it's happening right now. And I promise you, Alabama fans are just going to call their radio shows all day or Paul fight. Hey, Paul, this is absolute BS, man. We're better. Everyone knows we're the best. And they'll do that for till next season, pretty much.
Probably till next season.
And
probably
Paul
until next season.
Will sit there with that same dry look on his face.
God forbid one of the semifinals ends up in a blowout, because every Alabama fan in the world would be like, if we were in it, it wouldn't be. That'd have been a good game.
But that's fine. It doesn't matter. Like they'll just yell, and it's
just
like
saying, it's funny.
That doesn't matter.
You continue yelling while you watch those playoff games, Bama fans. You continue yelling.
Hey, I'm just saying, Michigan TCU is going to be an awesome game, and I feel sorry for everyone on Ohio State's team.
What's also funny in these instances is when one of these teams that will argue a lot gets in a playoff game and then like gets beat down. And then they all make excuses. Well, Nick Saban literally was very honest about it, but when Alabama got smoked by Utah in the Sugar Bowl years ago, was just like, it's hard to get you guys up to play whenever, the goal has been different all year and they just miss out on it. Now they're in this other game. It's like, dude, you're in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
But it's like,
it's the
he
SEC
also wasn't wrong, because now if that had been Arkansas or something, it would have been different. But for Bama, like all year, they kind of had their eyes set on, let's get into the national BCS national championship, and then they didn't. And then they had won the previous year, and he's like, yeah, well, it's kind of hard. It's like, bro, but that's your job.
Yeah. Your job is to motivate these.
And now they're in the Sugar Bowl against Kansas State. If they lose, if they lose, everyone's going to use that as a reason why they lost.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you now, everyone's going to use that. Well, but it's because they didn't get in the college football playoff. It's like, so now you're saying the bowl games don't matter.
Yeah.
Nowadays you get like players sitting out for their draft stock keep themselves healthy for the draft, and people
I feel
say that like it's something that's a big deal.
Well, I feel like that shouldn't be an excuse this year, though. I know what year.
That's my point.
I know what year you're talking about with the year that they got blown out in the Sugar Bowl. You're talking about the same year that was the year Auburn had won on that kick six, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So that one, I can understand, and I'm not using it as a battle excuse, but I can understand why there would be hangover from that one, because it literally, like, you lose that game and you lose your right to go to the BCS championship. So there's just hangover there. But this one, there was like a pretty much 85 to 90% chance that you knew you weren't getting in.
This was the 2008 season, actually.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different Alabama game because they hadn't gotten back yet.
But there was a game where they lost in the Sugar. They did go to the Sugar Bowl that same year, and I want to say they lost.
Maybe it was the one to Oklahoma or something.
I don't know.
Did they play? It might have been Oklahoma that they played in that.
Alabama's played in the Sugar Bowl 4 times since 2008, losing all 3 games when the game was not part of the national championship structure. Wow. So again, every time in the last 14 years when they've gotten into the Sugar Bowl,
it's been hard to
and it wasn't the national championship Sugar Bowl, which they used to call that back in the BCS days. They lost.
That's crazy.
I mean, there's something to that. So whether it's Utah or anybody else, I mean, USC's already saying it. They're beyond devastated. They're upset. They had a ticket. They lost, and now they're going to the Cotton Bowl to take on Tulane, and it's like, huh. You think Tulane cares?
No,
I would not be mad if Tulane just smoked them.
I'm so happy that USC did not get in, though.
Me too.
Because listen, that's Lincoln Riley. I can't respect you. Leave the Big 12 to go to the Pac-12, in which you're thinking is going to be a version of the Big 12. You can run stuff all over again. You can be the king of your conference like you were in the Big 12, only to find out that your team's going to the Big 10 now.
That's funny.
I don't know.
Do you think that's really why, or do you think it was the buku money in the LA market?
I mean, I imagine
he's the highest paid coach in college football.
Yeah, I imagine money most certainly was top priority. But
and they're like, in this like $6 million home, you just live in it. You don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
No, money was definitely the persuader.
It's ridiculous, that contract.
Yeah. But I also have to imagine that conference thinking that he was going to be in the Pac-12 and could run things. I'm getting paid all this money, and on top of that, I can continue to win and be at the top of my conference every year. You know, who wouldn't do that? And also recruiting market, too. You know, you're in LA, you're in a hotbed. Yeah, you're in a hotbed in terms of recruiting. But I don't know. I mean, you had built an established power, well, by Big 12 standards.
They're going to the Big 10, though.
I just still don't know how all that's going to work.
I think the Big 10, not this year. Actually, I don't know. The Big 10 this year was bad.
But I mean, they're not going back to the Big 12 is my point.
No.
He's moving on up.
Yeah.
If you would. But I think, and then like, you had Caleb Williams, and then kind of his towards the end of the season, as he started to play better and better, and he started to beat some more teams, and his ego started to grow. He did the Joe Burrow cigar thing in the locker room after winning like just a regular season game. What was that game against?
I'm not sure.
Because that's like come on, the cigar in the locker room. That's like a championship game thing. Like you don't just do that after beating Middle Tennessee State.
You can do it if it was it after UCLA? Was it a rivalry game?
Ooh, it might have been UCLA.
It's a rivalry game.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
There are like certain traditions that.
My point at the end of the day is just it's a team that's like they feel entitled.
Yeah.
To me, they felt like they were entitled.
But I mean, what is Alabama and Ohio State?
I'm just saying.
How are they not entitled?
Yeah. No, I think I do understand where you're coming from, Nick. It's they felt entitled with no right to be entitled.
Look. If the Pac-12 was like it used to be, where they didn't have a conference championship game, and they had one loss by 1 point all season, I mean, Ohio State lost by 20 something.
Yeah, no, at that point in time, no. I'm not saying they didn't deserve to get in. At that point in time, their resume is what it is. If they win that game,
why? I think if they had been chirping after Saturday that they were entitled, or after Friday night when they lost, but I don't know. I mean, they felt like they deserved, maybe not the best, but we talked about it earlier, right?
Right.
Yes, perhaps they felt entitled, but I'm like, they're not the only team guilty of that.
Yeah.
You're
right.
No, I'm not pretending that they are. I'm just saying that like they're
You're saying
their
Ohio State and Bama currently have the right to feel entitled based on recent history, and USC doesn't. Is that what you're saying, Kyle?
That's what he's saying for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
My point is, I don't think any of them have necessarily a right to feel entitled because it's a new season every year.
Yeah, but come on.
I know that's not how it works.
College football.
I know that's not how it works. I wish that was.
That was Nick Saban's whole argument.
Yeah.
To get Bama in.
Yeah.
We're Bama.
Essentially, we're Bama. We're entitled to this spot. What did he say, Blaise, about TCU? Or
it said if you were to put us up against any of those other 4 teams, will we be favored or will we be underdogs? And the answer to that answers your question of whether we should be in or not.
They would be dogs to Georgia.
Yeah, he was like, we're entitled to it because we're the best and we're Alabama.
Do you think they'd be dogs to Michigan?
You know what's
betting wise? No. On a neutral field,
no. You know what's hilarious though, and somebody pointed out.
They still don't deserve to be in there, by the way.
No, I get your point, but like
Kirk Herbstreit pointed out how he was. I don't think I've ever seen Nick Saban on so many different shows and this all took in a span of within like hours. Like as soon as USC went down, all championship Saturday,
locked in the chamber, man.
He was doing interviews left and right, like he was campaigning, like it was election day. He was all over the country doing interviews, like just. That's
what he's supposed to do, though.
Campaigning. I thought that was hilarious. I would have never expected that from Nick Saban because he's just such a strict, like just no nonsense type of guy, and just to see him doing all these different interviews, campaigning for his team, I feel like
he's always campaigning for them. Like you're not wrong that he's sort of, kind of a curmudgeon and a little bit cantankerous and all that stuff. But anytime he has a mic, unless it's like right after a game or something, like that they lose, or I'm not talking about like his sideline stuff. But like he's always campaigning sometimes it's like subtle, but like he was, even the shots he was taking at A&M, to the Bama boosters, it's kind of like campaigning for what he was subtly saying is like to a room of boosters, they're spending all this money, even though Bama spends tons of money. But he's like, they're buying all these players, that's kind of where recruiting is, and I don't like it, but wink, wink, that's kind of where we're at now, let's make this happen.
He's like an archetypal coach in that he's that coach that if you're a player for him, he's going to seem super strict and super strict and super strict, and he's kind of always a hard behind and all this stuff. And then finally, like, you get to that point where it's make it or break it time, and it's, he's got to go to bat for you, and he's going to bat for you. All of a sudden, you're like, "Where's this guy?"
Right.
Like this guy's never been on. He's never had my back my entire life.
Like a platoon leader.
He makes me run suicides
on
every
top
practice.
of the whole
and
unit. Now it's like life or death, and he's like riding with
throwing
them.
himself on the grenade. Like which is a cool thing to be.
Back in 2011, Bama or Oklahoma State. He was campaigning the what out of it. Yeah, and he should be. And they got in. When they probably shouldn't have, and then they beat the hell out of LSU, and so it didn't really
matter.
They got in and they won, so that's what's remembered. But if you go back, Oklahoma State lost in a weird weeknight game that the refs miscalled a field goal that was actually no good, and Oklahoma State essentially was like, "Look, we really should be undefeated. We only have one loss. Yeah, you only have one loss, but y'all already lost to that team, so why do y'all deserve to be in there?" And there were only 2 spots, and if that had been any other team in the SEC other than Bama, it wouldn't have worked. It could have been Auburn. It could have been Georgia at the time. It could have, because it was Saban in Alabama. It was, what? Let's put them in there, and then they rolled all over the Tigers, who are playing Purdue in the Citrus Bowl. UL, Houston, Independence Bowl. We're going to talk about it next. We got some audio from Coach Desimo we're going to play for you. We'll talk about some of the other bowl matchups. We've also got to talk about the legend of Jose Alvarado. A lot of stuff to get into this morning. Did any of y'all, I know it was football yesterday, but whatever, the Saints weren't playing. Didn't y'all watch that Pelicans game?
Didn't get the chance.
That dude. Most points scored off the bench this season in the NBA. most points scored off the bench in Pelicans franchise history, most points scored in a game by an undrafted free agent, most points scored by an undrafted bench player in the history of the NBA.
Wow.
I mean, he comes in. I mean, he's
11.
awesome, but like, he's not like, let's drop 38
I'm looking at the box score. He's 8 for 11.
He comes off the bench. They're down 11. Jokic is like doing his thing, and he just starts one after the other. He's like 5'10".
Yeah.
And he's out there lobbing these floaters over these guys, and the crowd was sold out.
I'm so happy.
And they were going crazy for him.
I love Jose Alvarado.
I mean, how can you not? How can you not? If you're on another team, you probably hate him when he sneaks up behind you and
I love
swipes
players
you.
like that, though. I love players that if they weren't on your team, you'd hate them.
I mean, that guy they got that guy locked in for 4 years, and he's making like less than $2 million a year.
That's crazy.
Got to steal.
I mean, you got a couple. You
Literally
got
a
Herb
steal.
Jones on a second round. I mean, you've got guys on contracts right now where it's like, you better do something, man. They've won 9 of 11, fellas. The hype is real. I've been telling y'all. Buy it. Buy it now. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this. It's the Great Scott Show on 103.3 The GOAT, simulcast on 1420 The GOAT, the greatest sports talk of all time.
Don't let them pull the wool over your eyes.
And they bring in this rookie, Chris Olave.
Get your sports news straight from the GOAT.
To the end zone, caught for the touchdown. Chris Olave.
103.3 The GOAT.
Welcome back into the Great Scott Show. Chris Olave, the Saints at 4-8. Monday Night Football taking on the Buccaneers, and with a win would be a half game out of first place. It'd be a half game out of first place. In fact, I think they'll probably win tonight, but they're just gonna give all the Saints fans
Hope. False hope.
Yeah. Go into the bye, come out. The one game, if they only win one game the rest of this year, I just want it to be Atlanta, but that's who they play coming out of the bye. It's like, what I'm telling you is as frustrating as the season has been, I think I don't think the part of the season where it's like, okay, this is maximum pain for this season. I don't think we've seen it.
No, we have not
with the
reached
Saints.
maximum pain.
I don't. Look, if they lose the rest of their games, I think you've already reached maximum pain.
Yeah.
But to fool the fans into thinking you still got a shot, a win tonight will do it. But there's more pain on the way, I'm just saying. Unfortunately.
Probably.
It'd be hilarious. I would love it. Look, if they won the division at 7-10, I don't care what you're doing. And you have to play the Cowboys, who beat the snot out of the freaking Colts last night. I don't even care. Like, fly the banner at halftime. Just put it in division champs, throw it up there. But that's not going to happen.
Wait, don't do that. Don't get to the playoffs.
That's not going to happen. Why?
That's going to give Dennis Allen legitimacy.
Oh no! Unless it doesn't matter. No. Let's be real. Unless they like lose the rest of their games, he's coming back next year.
Well, I know that.
If they're 6-11 or if they're 7-10 as a division champ, or they're 7-10 as the third or fourth place team in the division, I don't think playing in a playoff game really changes that. The only thing that could really change his trajectory is if they won a playoff game, which, guys,
not going to happen.
Of course not.
No,
of course not.
Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl and then proceeded to get the Eagles in back-to-back years on what was a terrible NFC East division, and still ended up losing his job. So getting to the playoffs at that point doesn't matter, because those teams that he got to the wild card with were not good. It's just that the NFC East was even worse.
So on the other hand, you don't want to lose a bunch of games because you don't want to give the Eagles a better draft pick. I don't know. There's no successful.
You want to try to win your games.
There's no outcome.
It's like
there's no outcome in life.
No, that locker room is dysfunctional, and everybody can see that. I don't think regardless, he'll have to win a substantial amount of games and show a different locker room and a different team energy next year for him to retain his job. He's coming back next year. I mean, they're not going to fire him after one
not
season.
Unless they lose the rest of their games.
If
they finish 4-13, I could see them
dropping.
Say, you know what, this. Come on, we made a mistake.
Yeah,
we need to do something.
Do you think they could drop him in the middle of the season next year if it turns out the same way again?
I mean, what's the point?
The point of dropping him in the middle of the season?
Is it just
starting your search earlier?
Is it just to
You can start your search without firing him.
Yeah, you can. I don't know. It all just depends on how much the locker room is lost, because you get a little spark here or there. Like the Panthers had a brief spark with Steve Wilkes, and then they kind of just went back to, losing, even though they're coming off of a win. But the Dallas Cowboys, 2.5 games back, right? Because Philly beat them in the NFC East, and yet they have the best plus-minus differential in the league. They're 9-3. I mean, they're good. There's a weird argument here. Let's assume Philly wins. We'll get to the phone lines in a second. Listener, just hang tight. And we're going to get to the Cajuns bowl game in the next segment, because I have some audio from Coach Desimo, and I want to have enough time to play it. The Cowboys traditionally get into the postseason and just fall on their face, right? Mm-hmm. And it's always hilarious.
Yes.
If they're the best team record-wise for a wild card team, which is probably going to happen, especially with the Dolphins' loss yesterday to the Niners, because you could maybe see Bills, Dolphins, whoever finished the second in that division. It's almost, I feel like it's in an odd way better for Dallas. Now, they're better at home and on the road, but if they win that division and they're like a 1 seed or a 2 seed, the amount of pressure that goes on them, it's almost better for them. Like, yeah, we're better than these division winners. We got to go. That's probably the best spot for them. In a weird, I know it sounds ridiculous, but just based on the last, 20 plus years of the Dallas Cowboys, I think their chances of doing something in the postseason is better if they're the best 5 seed by a mile than if they're the 1 seed. And It's kind of like all of the pressure in Mike McCarthy's face just taking up the entire screen. And, oh, God, what is this call? And it's a 3-point game in the fourth quarter, and you just feel that pressure mounting. And it's like, it might be better for you guys just to kind of go in as a wild card that everyone says, man, it must suck. They don't get to play at home, blah, blah, blah. Like, they probably need that.
Yeah. Look, I'm not much of a stats guy. I don't track, point differential as much. I like when point differentials are funny, like how the Vikings were like 9-2 or whatever with a negative point differential for the
They're plus 10 now.
Hey, there we go. But energy and narratives, I can track that kind of stuff. And on the whole, what I've noticed from watching football, a lot of football, especially NFL football, those teams with chips on their shoulders that play together and play for each other win a lot of games, and a lot of games that really matter. So, I mean, that's one of those situations where you go in as a wild card team, you're the Dallas Cowboys, you're like, hey, look, you can completely BS your way into like, no one believes in us and that stuff, and that works.
They always have a chip on their shoulder. They need to get over themselves. They always have some kind of, everybody's out to get us. Yeah, well, maybe if your fan base wouldn't be obnoxious, maybe people wouldn't hate on you.
Yeesh.
America's
team, by the way.
I don't. For the record, I do not root for Dallas.
No, me neither.
To be honest, when I was young, I hated them. I mean, they were just dominant for a stretch, and they were cocky, and I didn't like them. But then as I got older, I didn't have. It wasn't like when they won. At some point, they just lost a bunch. It wasn't like when they were winning, I was disgusted. It was that I had a few friends that were Dallas fans that suddenly they made it like a personal thing. Yeah. And so now it's more or less, I don't know. I don't really even dislike the Cowboys that much, but because of like Norman Locke and Chris Reed and others, I'm like, okay. All right, if y'all want to talk nonstop, I'm just telling you, when the season comes to an end, you're gonna get it.
You're gonna get it.
I'm gonna give it to you.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna give it to you. And if you happen to win it all, which you won't, I'll tip my cap. It won't even. I won't even be like, I'll just be like, what, enjoy it. Good for you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, it's actually a good place to be. Because back when I was younger, I mean, the Saints were just terrible, and the Cowboys were always on TV. It was so annoying. I'm like, I'm just sick of their faces. And then the 21st century hit, and it's like they're on TV a lot, but they're really not that good.
Yeah.
Like, what is all this about? And then at some point, it just became funny. I don't know. I mean, the instant memes when they lost to the Niners in the playoffs of those fans in the crowd, like, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, what other franchise could have created that? in the NFL? None. You could have panned any other team in the NFL that choked in the playoffs. Even if you panned to fans crying in the stands, it would not have become a week's worth of memes.
Maybe like a Tom Brady Patriots team, just because of how successful they were.
But you think how many Patriots fans? Like, when you say Patriots fan, what even comes into your mind? You say Cowboys fan, and you're like thinking of that jabroni with his hand around that girl that looks like he's about to cry, which you know the guy I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And that guy apparently was married, and that was not his wife, and he got busted because he was all sad on TV. I can't see them doing segments of like, oh my God, on national television shows laughing at sad Patriots fans.
That's fair.
They're just, they'd be all bundled up and like cursing and like, well, if you, Tom, it would be like, okay.
That's true. They're all Bostonites. So
where it's like, you see Cowboys fans and it's like, they could be from anywhere. They might even be from Fort Worth or Dallas. They could be like, oh, I'm from Montana, but I grew up, whatever. You flew in for the game, which makes it even more funny.
That's even funnier.
Anyway, the Cowboys, there's a weird part of me that's like, if Philly slips and Dally wins the
Dally.
Call me crazy, Dally. Sorry. We're getting to the phone line in a second. I don't root for the Cowboys. I want them to win the division.
So you can put that burden on them?
Yes.
Interesting.
It would make a playoff loss that it would just be hilarious. Where if they get in and they win a game or two, I mean, they haven't played a conference championship game in the 21st century, but if they win the wild card, which they will, they're going to play whoever's in the NFC South, and then they play in the second round and win or lose, it's kind of, or a good game. It's like there'll be people laughing and stuff, but it will not be the same as if they're at home as like a 1 or 2 seed with all these expectations.
Yeah.
Sure.
I kind of hope they will. I'm rooting for Dallas to win the division, but not because
for their success, but for their failure.
Correct.
You're preying on their downfall in the most confusing way possible.
Absolutely. Let's head to the phone lines. Good morning. Welcome into the show.
Yeah, it's pretty funny what you say about the Cowboys, a.k.a. the Dallas Knicks. It's pretty funny, like, people, like, have this nostalgia about them, like they're still the greatest thing since sliced bread. But I'm opposite, man. I understand what you're saying. You're saying for them, that would be good for them. But I don't want them to get the 1 seed. I want them to live as high as they can on the mountain and beat their chest and say, we them boys, and tell every fan base that they're going back to the mountain, back to where they belong. And then just like when Harry Potter's with Voldemort and he tells them, oh, I feel sorry for you.
Spoiler alert.
That's how I feel about the Cowboys. I feel sorry for you. Like, I think it's funny, man, because, like, I think the problem with the Cowboys fan base is that they legitimately know that their team is not the best anymore, and they're like the Uncle Rico of football fans. Like, they believe if they would have threw that football over the mountain since '96, they would have won. But
that's true. But what's odd, Josh, is like people like my boy Norman Locke, who Norm, you never
seen it.
You were 3 when you don't even remember when they won the Super Bowl. Like, he doesn't.
Oh, and that's
like as far as like his adult life goes, or even when he, as far back as he can remember football, it's like you've got to enjoy like 3 playoff wins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you like, I understand if you're a longtime Cowboys fan, and I know a few. I know a number that listen to this station. They're all jokes aside, they're good people, and it's like they remember those days, and they take the losses hard. Like, it's the younger Cowboy fans. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You think, like, I know people talk about LSU a lot, whatever. Do you see any LSU fans running, like younger fans running around, like rocking a 1958, like natty you know what I'm saying?
No.
58 champions, like 1958.
Yeah.
Like, what? What do you, like, what?
Yep.
What?
And the worst part is, like, with Norm, it goes through generations, right? Because, like, before Norm, people my age in their 30s and 40s, if you were arguing, let's say your team was the 49ers, and you're like, they'd be like, we got more championships than y'all. What you talking about? Man, back in the day when Tom Landry was roaming the earth, we won championships back then, too. We had Roger Staubach. And, dude, who cares? You weren't alive. Like,
right.
You weren't a person.
Right. If you're an older fan, I'm all for respect and decorum. Like, that's awesome. But if you're like, 30, it's like, what? Like, you can celebrate your history, but don't act like that championship means all this to you.
Yeah.
Man. It's pretty rough.
You can respect the history. If you want to rock a Staubach jersey, that's awesome. And I'm not just talking about Cowboys fans here, just in general.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you're a fan of, if you want to enjoy the history, that's great. But don't act like you were able to enjoy these moments as a fan. No, you weren't.
Yeah.
You were swimming. Okay.
Yeah.
You were swimming. I like that one.
Yeah, I'm going to have to use that one. Real quick question. I'll hang up and listen to hear y'all response about it. What did you think about Deion Sanders' little speech to the Colorado football team? I kind of cracked up. I thought it was pretty funny, but I'll hang up and listen.
You know what? Why don't we play that before we hit the break?
While you're looking for that, I would say talking about the respecting your history kind of thing. The first time I was ever on radio, I came in wearing my St. Steve Gleason jersey. And yeah, Steve Gleason's cool. He's got the no weight flags thing, which is awesome. That jersey is more than that. It's Steve Gleason. He was not a star player for the Saints, but he's more or less reignited, saved the franchise with the play against the Falcons in the Superdome that first game after Katrina.
Well, it's not just the play. It's
everything around it, obviously. But he did it.
He's very unique.
Yeah.
What he represents as a person.
What he represents as a person.
And what he brings and how he attacks life.
I've got an Archie Manning jersey 10, 12 years ago.
So those are those
Archie, I was too young. I was alive when he was still playing, but I was really too young to remember,
Of course.
You can rock with it, but I always said, look.
I guess my point is it's a different thing.
Sure. Being at the Saints Super Bowl, I fan my whole life, remembered games from when I was 4 and 5 years old, went to games, losing seasons, just awful stuff. Never thought they were the joke of the NFL, never thought they'd do anything. And then you ride with them long enough, and then they win it all, and it's this euphoric moment. And yet I can even admit to myself, if the fans out there that went through the first 20 years, which were all losing seasons, and never wavered.
Yeah.
They got to be feeling the most good right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm crying. This is incredible. I never thought this would happen.
Right.
But if you went through more roadblocks to get to this point, and if you ever jumped off the wagon, you get in the back of the line. You can jump back on, but you're in the back of the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. It's the Pelicans ever win it all. I want everyone to enjoy it, but it ain't going to mean as much to you as it does to somebody that's followed them for 20-plus years.
I'll put my hand up right now and say it will not mean as much to me as it will to you.
Sure.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And I'm not gatekeeping.
No, of course.
I'm all, that's what I always say about
totally understand
fans.
exactly the point you're making.
Jump on the wagon, but don't act like
you've been
here. Yeah.
It's not even about acting. I don't care. Inherently, it's a different joy to you than it is to that person. When the Astros won it all finally, and then after the fact it turned out they were cheating or whatever, but then they won again and again. They're really good. I have fans that been Astros fans as long as I've known them, and they've been Astros fans their whole life, and I'm genuinely happy for them. Now there are other people that they kind of jumped on the wagon and it was fun, and I'm like, it's probably fun for you too. But it ain't the same.
It's not
the same. We're going to take a timeout. We'll come back. Good discussion, fellas. Thank you. I don't see. This is what the Cowboys do. Oh, wait. Let's wait on the Deion Sanders. If you don't know what our last caller was referencing, we'll play that for you when we come out of the break. Basically, just being very honest and upfront with the Colorado Buffaloes football team when he spoke to them. We'll hear Michael Desimo's thoughts on Louisiana heading to the Independence Bowl. We got all that and more coming your way on a Monday. Don't go anywhere. I'm Scott. We got Big Blaise, Nasty Nick in the house. We're right back right after this.
103.3 The GOAT.
Yeah, that's the one.
K277DQ Lafayette, 1420 KPEL Lafayette. Don't let them pull the wool over your eyes.
And they bring in this rookie, Chris Olave.
Get your sports news straight from the GOAT.
To the end zone, caught for the touchdown. Chris Olave.
103.3 The GOAT.
Great Scott!
The Great Scott Show.
And as they head into the final furlong, all of the other radio stations and radio hosts are left in the wake of a keen turn of speed by the Great Scott Show, the champion.
With Scott Prater.
Steal the show.
Welcome back into the Great Scott Show on a Monday. Nasty Nick, Big Blaise in the house. Hour one flew by, man. We're 10 minutes in hour two here. From Fred McGriff to Tom Amansky to college football playoffs to
Dallas
Nick
Cowboys.
Saban to the psychology of the Dallas Cowboys and fandom in general.
They all need psychologists.
Well,
Wow.
you know.
Yeah,
You know?
I'd say so.
I feel like a lot of people need psychology.
No disrespect, Mr. Norman Locke. You know you my guy.
No, he's not right in the head sometimes.
Well.
Yeah.
I think that's majority of Cowboys fans.
Yeah. Look, I'll say this about Norm. When the day of reckoning always comes, he does take it. Now, that's usually like one day a year,
Yeah.
right? Like when they lost in the playoffs last year, I mean, I had some of his old tweets locked and loaded, and I was sharing them with the world, and he was like, I mean, I got to take it, you know. What else am I going to do? But, you know, about a day or two later, he's like, winning it all next year.
Yeah.
It's all turning around.
You gotta give him an
It's all
A for
turning
tenacity,
around.
man.
Yeah, an optimistic
look,
man.
there's
coming
some
back.
others. There's some others like they can't handle it, and you know, there's some Saints fans that can't. There's some fans that like they can dish it, but they can't handle taking it. It's like
Right.
if you're gonna dish it, you better be ready to take it because if you run from it, you get no respect from me,
Yeah.
none. Deion Sanders, I'm gonna play this audio for you. This is him in the Colorado Buffaloes, I guess their film room, kind of an auditorium, speaking to the players. He just took over as head coach. There's some, people have different thoughts on how he handled this, guys. Let's play the audio for everybody. Take a listen.
We got a few positions already taken care of because I'm bringing my luggage with me. And it's Louis. Okay. It ain't gonna be no more of the mess that these wonderful fans, the student body, and some of your parents have put up with for probably 2 decades now. I'm coming. And when I get here, it's gonna be changed. So I want y'all to get ready to go ahead and jump in that portal and do whatever you're gonna get. Because the more you jump in, the more room you make. Because we bring kids that are smart, say that, smart, tough.
All right.
Smart, tough.
He just told you to hit the portal, fellas.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just said hit the portal.
Hey.
Said the more y'all that hit it, the more room it is for us. In 45 seconds, he said, I'm bringing some players with me.
Mm-hmm.
Hit the portal, do whatever you got to do, and propped up the fans, the student body, and parents of players. Parents of players, you just said, go ahead and hit the portal. Like he's a master of his craft when it comes to just on the mic. I don't know, man. It's the truth is not every player is going to hit the portal. I think part of him is he just wants to see who's in and who's out.
That's what I was about to
But
say.
also, a lot of coaches would just say one thing, especially with the cameras on, say one thing, right? We're going to do this, we're going to do that. I'm so happy to be here. And then in a private meeting, be like, look, you're being replaced. You should probably hit the, why don't you, or we're taking away your scholarship, whatever. You just put it out there like right out the gate. It's like, I mean, a lot of coaches would say one thing and then do it. And some would say, well, you should say it because not every single player he's going to tell to hit the portal. Maybe you should wait for a meeting, but okay.
You didn't name anybody.
But yeah, just put it in their head now. I don't know. I didn't have a problem with it.
No, I
didn't either.
I think Deion, as a former player, is probably like, I'm not going to BS you because I know you guys want honesty. Like, you don't want me to be different when the camera's on than when it's off. So I'm just going to be me the whole time. And I'm Deion Sanders, so this is how I am.
The only issue I would have with it is if, like, because you know who he's talking about when he says he's bringing guys. And obviously it's his sons. I don't know if Shiloh, that's his oldest son, I don't know if Shiloh has another year of eligibility. I'd have to check on that. But Shedeur does, and that's the quarterback for Jackson State. So Shedeur's going to follow him. Travis Hunter, the 5-star recruit that they had this year, he broke the internet by committing to Jackson State a year ago and was phenomenal for Jackson State this year. Travis Hunter's more than likely going to follow him as well. So when he says he's bringing Louis, that's who he's bringing. He's bringing his top guys. The only issue I would have with it is if there was, and I'll plead the fifth here for ignorance. I haven't watched a whole lot of Colorado football, especially not this past season because they were just awful. So I don't know what the quarterback position is like. But if you're just plugging and playing in your guys because that's your guys when you have good talent there, that's the only issue I would have. I don't think that's the case with Colorado, just simply because they won one game this year. There's no way you can have true talent there at
Talent gets you at least 2 or 3 wins.
Yeah, so it's if you want a clean house at that point, you're more than welcome to do whatever you want. He's established a winning culture there. So I don't at Jackson State. So I really don't think I don't know. I wouldn't have a problem with it personally because, listen, he's going to do what he's got to do to get that program up and running again. And whatever it's going to be for the betterment of his guys, because that's the one thing I've admired about Deion Sanders, especially at Jackson State. He loves his players and he treats them all as his own sons. He went on a big rant about putting the name on the back of the jersey at Jackson State and what that means to his players and his boys.
And then he was like, I'm not leaving. And then he's like, see you later.
Yeah, well, you throw some money at people, you throw more. Yeah, I think everybody knew that was coming eventually.
It's kind of a matter of when you say it, though.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I'll say this. Billy Napier never said last year at any point, like, I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
No.
That's just an example that's close to home. Here's my last question, and then we're going to move on to UL for a minute. Can Colorado win? Can he win at Colorado?
It might take a year.
I mean, we've seen him do well at Jackson State, HBCU, right? Now you're in the Pac-12 at Colorado, Colorado was really good back in the day when they were in the Big 12. I mean, they won a national championship when I was a teenager. They were a good team for stretches. They had years where they were one of the better teams in college football. Hadn't been great for them. They joined the Pac-12 in 2010, I believe, and they've just not been good at all. At all. USC and UCLA are going to be leaving the Pac-12 soon. They're going to add some schools that, frankly, from a athletic budget standpoint, really shouldn't compete with Colorado. I mean, just because something's worked in the past doesn't mean it can work again, but Colorado they're not Vanderbilt. They're not like, look, at best, you can hope for maybe a winning season here or there in the whatever blank.com bowl. Like you can, I mean, if Deion goes to Colorado, he wants to win a Pac-12 championship. Can he do that at Colorado?
I believe so. USC and UCLA are leaving in 2 years' time. I definitely think the pieces are there. Now there's still some of the quote unquote powers in the Pac-12, like Oregon. Utah, Oregon, Washington. Looks like they might be on the come up again. But it's not a conference like the SEC or the Big Ten where it's dominated by the same powers over and over again. There's typically a rotation in that power between one of those teams, whether it's in the early to mid 2000s, it was USC, and then Oregon in the Chip Kelly era kind of came along, and they've kind of been in and out of the mix. Utah in the past 3 or 4 years has kind of come on. Washington for a little while had a run going where they won 2 or 3 in a row. So it's a rotation of power. So, yeah, I definitely think he can win. Now, how soon is that winning? Well, I think it'll take a little time, 2, 3 years. I definitely think he can come in and win 6 games and get that team to a bowl game. And if he does, that's a huge turnaround from winning 1 game this year.
If you're Colorado, it's like you're 1-8. You're not relevant. You've kind of gone through the head coaching cycles. You've tried different things. You've not been able to get back to the team you once were, the program you once were. why not?
Yeah,
swing.
why not?
You know what I mean? Why not?
I don't.
Deion said he wanted to be a trendsetter, and he was like, I think I deserve a coaching job right now. They're like, you have no coaching experience. It's like, I don't care. And then he points out examples, granted in other sports. Ends up taking the job at Jackson State, HBCU, really big deal at the time. It's like, wow, he's going to do that. And I mean, with respect to Jackson State, they were never more relevant from a national standpoint than they were when Deion was there.
Yeah.
And so he's going to bring a microscope to the Colorado program. Maybe that's the wrong word. A platform for them.
Yeah.
When you have that platform, though, you want to win.
Yeah.
You want to win.
There's certainly an
because as good as he's been, boy, the media will be quick to tear you down if it doesn't go right. Fair or not, that's just a reality.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he does.
Yeah, there's certainly an element of just win, right? Like Deion's bringing, and if he's bringing in these players too, he's telling these kids to enter the transfer portal and go somewhere else. You can't come in and do that and then win 2 games. Win 3 games. It's not that much of an improvement for sending all those players out through the transfer portal. But if he comes in, he wins 5 or 6, like Blaise is saying. Like that's a big enough turnaround that I think you're obviously you're trending in the right direction, but you're making leaps instead of steps.
We'll take a quick timeout, come back. Coach Michael Desimo shares his thoughts on Louisiana heading to the Independence Bowl in Shreveport, December the 23rd. Take it on the Houston Cougars. For the Cajuns, I think of all the realistic bowl possibilities and opponents, I think they got best case scenario, fellas. I'll tell you why when we come back after this. It's the Great Scott Show on 103.3 The GOAT, simulcast on 1420. It's the GOAT, the greatest sports talk of all time.
We don't talk trash.
There is no team in the National Football League right now more balanced than the Dallas Cowboys.
We chew it up and spit it back out. 103.3 The GOAT.
Welcome back into the Great Scott Show, 103.3 The GOAT, simulcast on 1420. Scott Prather, Nasty Nick, Big Blaise, we're all here. Louisiana heading to Shreveport to take on the Houston Cougars in the Independence Bowl. This felt like this is where it was going. The fact that Army was not going to be bowl eligible, it just felt like, look, granted, there have been numbers of different bowl representatives at some UL games, but the Independence Bowl has never had them. They were at several games. Because Army wasn't eligible, they were taking a team from the Sun Belt. You've got a team that's in the state. You didn't have Louisiana Tech blocking it like they did back in, 08. Bunch of chumps. That's a history lesson I won't get into now. But let's just say at one point in Coach Desimo's career, they thought, wow, we're going to go to a bowl game for the first time since we've been an FBS member. Let's do it. And then La Tech kind of blocked it. It was not a good time. History lesson for another day. But that's way in the past. Considering you have a Sun Belt record, 7 teams going to bowls, considering all the different bowls they could go to, proximity, and an opponent that, Houston they're heading to the Big 12 soon. They're not far away. I mean, I think Cajun fans that are planning to go to the Independence Bowl would be going regardless of who they were playing. But the fact that it's an opponent, kind of like the Cajuns, that had a lot of expectations heading into the season, that, boy, they might not run it much, but they're going to sling it all over the place. But just a brand and a name and a school that fans recognize. Mm-hmm. I think of all, like, whether the Cajuns' record this year was 9-3 or what it is now, 6-6, regardless of what the record is, if you're not going to get into a Select Six, which only one Group of 5 team does, and it was Tulane this year, the reality is such. Sunbelt team has never gotten into the group of into a New Year's Six yet. They might at one point, but they haven't yet. So when you look at the realistic possibilities of where you can go, and I usually have this conversation with the fans, like, can they go to this bowl or that bowl? I'm like, no, you have bowl tie-ins. This is pretty much the list of where you could go. I think the fact that the Independence Bowl was on the table this year, whether they were 10-2, whether they were 6-6, I would be saying the same thing. I think this is the best case scenario as far as bowls go for the realistic bowls go for the Cajuns this year.
Yeah.
How do y'all feel about UL in the Independence Bowl against Houston?
I like it personally. I see a lot of fans. I say a lot of fans. I saw a few comments, on Facebook and just around social media on Twitter whenever the announcement was made, and they were like, oh, Shreveport, and it's like, it's different. I know there's excitement around the New Orleans Bowl and things like that, but it's like the New Orleans Bowl is a big deal to us as Cajun fans. But let's be honest, in the world of bowls in general, it's not that much bigger than the Independence Bowl.
I think the buyout is actually bigger for the Independence Bowl. I could be wrong. But like the New Orleans Bowl, it was the first time the Cajuns went. It was madness. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But like once you go for the sixth time, it doesn't have the same luster. You've never been to the Independence Bowl.
Yeah.
It's drivable. I am not going to sit here and tell you that Shreveport is this luxurious metropolis that but the Independence Bowl, I'm just talking strictly bowl game, proximity, opponent. It was a good deal.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the best you could ask for. I think I like Houston as an opponent. I think this is a really cool sort of. It feels like a good bowl for both teams' fans to be able to go to proximity wise, and the opponent. I'm sure Houston fans are pretty excited to get a chance to play us. Both teams are going to come in probably in a pretty good state, like condition health wise and talent wise are feeling good. I don't know. I'm just pretty excited.
337-269-1077. We'll take a phone call. Then we'll hear Coach Dez's thoughts that he shared yesterday on the Cajuns heading to the Independence Bowl. Good morning. Welcome into the show. Hello.
Man, I tell you what's going on, guys?
What's going on, Jerry? How are you?
Good, man. Are you going to the game? I mean, you're not going to the game. The Saints are on the road, but hopefully they don't give us heartbreak. They've been kind of frustrating to watch over the last few weeks.
No, they'll probably win tonight, but they'll give you maximum heartbreak later this month. Just wait for it.
No, man, I just wanted to comment on the Cajuns bowl game. Honestly, with everything they've been through this season, they've had a little bit of ups and downs. I think Houston, perception-wise, is probably one of the best quality opponents we've faced in a decade since we've gone to bowl games again. I don't know, with everything that's happened, and like you said, outside of the New Year's Six, if you could really get much better than that with the situation we're in and where we're going. I'd personally rather go to Shreveport in the Independence Bowl than go somewhere out, Myrtle Beach Bowl playing some Conference USA team. I think Houston's a great opponent, especially the fact that they're going to be in the Big 12 in a couple years.
2020, they've got one. No, they'll be in the Big 12 next year.
Yeah, next year.
Yeah, this is.
Next year. Yeah,
next year.
So I mean, as far as quality of opponent, I mean, I think Houston is a great matchup. I guess maybe I'm a glass half full guy here. I don't know, glass half empty, or glass half full. I'm just happy we're in a bowl. Like everything we've gone through this season, I'm just happy we're in. And then, if you look at the last couple of years with the success we've had, I don't know, maybe outside of Marshall, if we've really had a bowl opponent that has been as well known as a Houston. I don't know if I'm exaggerating there.
Well,
but
I mean, look, you played Tulane in a bowl. You played East Carolina, San Diego State. I mean, those are notable programs. Houston does have a certain cachet about it as far as Group of Five goes, and some of that's their entire athletic department and what their basketball team does and stuff like that. But it's not like anyone's saying where's this school? Now, part of it's because it's in their name, but you know what I mean? Like when they played East Carolina, plenty of Cajun fans, they didn't know where East Carolina. They figured, is it north? Is it south? Where is it?
Or UTSA a few years ago. I remember everybody's like, who is that? Who's UTSA? And it's like, if you don't watch college football, you're not going to know who UTSA is. Yeah. So no, Houston's definitely better.
And that's coming off a ranked season. I mean, those years we've played ranked team. I mean, we've been ranked. We played UTSA, and most people were like, "Who's that?" So No, I mean, I'm gladly take playing Houston. I hope that Coach Dez and this team can continue that momentum they have from Texas State. You win this game, you finish with a winning season. So, no, I'm happy for the Cajuns, but I'll take Houston any day of the week, and it's going to be a good matchup. But, hey, real quickly, I heard y'all's segment on Deion Sanders. I'll say this. If that man could go to Colorado and turn a 1-11 team around, I mean, he's already shown he can coach. I'm going to be very intrigued. I'll say one thing that he's done over there already. He hasn't even been there for 48 hours, and the attraction he has brought to the Colorado football program just on a national stage has probably been – I don't think Colorado's gotten as much coverage in the last 10 years as they've gotten in the last 2 days. So right then and there, just by the way they push social media, he's already done a lot over there in such a short amount of time. So now I'm curious to see what he can do on the football field. But anyway, guys, just wanted to say hello, and go Saints. Well, again, I don't want heartbreak tonight, but we'll see.
Appreciate it, Jerry. All the best, man. Let's hear Coach Desimo share his thoughts on Louisiana heading into the Independence Bowl.
We're really excited to get the opportunity to play in the Independence Bowl. For our kids, this is the 5th year in a row getting to go to a bowl game. Certainly the Independence Bowl's got a long history, a lot of really good football games, and I have memories from whenever I was a kid watching the Independence Bowl. And I think for us getting to play, we talked about how bad we wanted to earn that extra game, how bad we wanted the bowl game, the 13th game, and for us getting to do it in state against a really good opponent like Houston, it just makes it even better. So I'm excited for our players, excited for this staff and for this team to get one more opportunity to go do it. And, getting to do it in Louisiana, in Shreveport, just makes it even better.
Des, is this the best 7-5, 6-6 bowl matchup? They were preseason favorites to win the American. You guys are preseason favorites to win the Sun Belt.
I hope so. I guess we'll find out. I have a ton of respect for Houston and for that program and what they've done. And for us, I think it's a matchup we can get excited about for sure. Our players, we'd have been happy to play anywhere, anybody. Honestly. But the reality of it is when you play a team like Houston, that certainly them moving up to the Big 12, all those things that go into it. But then just the brand Houston and the name and recognition, and for a lot of our kids, Louisiana, East Texas kids, they're all familiar with Houston. So for us, it's a great situation for us to get to go and go play a really good team.
Coach, just how exciting is it to have the opportunity to not only play again, but to end the season off and be able to say that you were champions?
Well, that means everything to us. That was what we, the beginning of the year, we said our goal was to be champions, and certainly, a bowl championship is something to be proud of. And so for us, we had to shift gears and shift focus into that. But for us, that was the focus, about, a couple weeks after the midway point, when we knew we were out of contention for a Western Division title. It's like, well, next thing we can do is go win a bowl game. So we had to focus on that and work really hard towards that goal. And our kids have done a phenomenal job. So for us, it means everything. Get to finish the year on a high note. Certainly getting in is a boost. But, anytime you have a chance to win your last game of the year, that's definitely some momentum moving forward.
Yeah, there it is. There was again, looking at the opponent, looking at the possibilities, I think it was best case scenario, all things considered. If you want some more audio, you can follow us over at 1033 The GOAT on Twitter. More video of Coach Desimo. He talks about the benefits of playing the game on December 23rd. Early signing day is December 21st. It's weird. They moved it back this year. In years past, it ended up being, whether it be the bowl game last year or a conference championship or whatever, it always seemed to be at a rough time for them. And now here it is this year, and it's a few days before the bowl game, but Coach Desimo kind of likes it. He likes that it's on the 23rd and not as quick a turnaround, and the guys can focus on finals week. You can also hear from Zion Hill-Green, who's still looking for that sack, and David Hudson as well, Rage Cajun offensive lineman, and that's all there for you over on 1033 The GOAT on Twitter, or on my Twitter page at Scott Mimic if you want to give me a follow there. I did not pay for the blue check mark.
I've never been so hopeful for a player to get a sack in my life.
Man, he's right there. I remember when Christian Ringo had a shot at it and he tied Jeff Mitchell. Mitchell is the state trooper that you see at a lot of these games, escorting the head coach, and Coach Desimo, and he was a great player back in the day. And Ringo came close, but he tied it, and it was cool. And now you got a 3-way tie, but Zion wants that second. You know what? He's gonna have a good chance to get it because Houston throws the ball. It's Dana Holgerson. They just want to air it out. They want to throw it all over the place. They don't really run it much, so Zion will have his chances. The secondary is going to be busy.
If the secondary gets their business right, you could see a big game from EG, a big game from Braylon, a big game from Cortland Flowers. Like any of those guys could have a really big game.
Yeah,
which is awesome because I love those guys. They're so much fun to watch.
38 after the hour. Saints Bucs tonight on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. The confidence level you have in the Saints tonight. We're going to get that from you when we come right back after this.
The suspense.
103.3 The GOAT. Everyone's like, it was 0. Yeah. We're not. No one's saying 0, right? Don't go anywhere. We're right back right after this.
Download the free 103.3 The GOAT app now.
Right now.
You've got mail and the very latest sports news now.
Did he say what I think he said?
103.3 The GOAT.
Welcome back into 103.3 The GOAT. Simulcast on 1420. Great Scott Show. Big Blaise, Nasty Nick joining me in studio this morning. Always good to hang out with you guys. They'll be back Thursday. On the hardwood this past weekend, the Cajuns women got a win over Louisiana Christian, which formerly known as Louisiana College. The men's win at UNO, man. A wild win. They're 7-1 on the season now. They win by a point. The officiating was
questionable.
All over the place, though.
So
it was
for
just
context, I produced that game.
It was like there was no consistency anywhere. I couldn't believe they actually
that's what I was going to say.
Dalcourt did get fouled at the end, but I'm like, I can't believe they blew the whistle.
Yeah.
But he sinks the free throws. They win by 1. It's always wild when they play at Lakefront Arena.
Yeah, so I produced that game on my birthday, and I was sitting here in the studio, and it was we had normal producing stuff, getting the show up and running, the whole thing. But once that game started, I was like, what's this one shot technical stuff going on? It happened 3 or 4 times.
Weird.
And I'm following the game on ESPN Plus so I can actually watch it, and then I'm producing the game on air, and it's like, what are they doing? These technicals are all over the place on the benches and on this guy and that guy. Felt like there were more technical fouls taken than regular free throws.
Yeah. It was Cajuns got the win.
Yeah.
Cajuns got the win.
And of course my brother, who's texting me this whole time, UNO alum, so he's texting me talking trash the whole time, and I'm like, dog, not right now.
I got too much going on. I got too much going on. Pelicans, we talked about it a little. Second place in the Western Conference right now. A lot of basketball left to be played. But no Brandon Ingram, no Herb Jones. They're still winning. They've been missing guys for really the majority of games this year, a key player here or there, and they just keep winning. They've got a lot of depth. But Jose was incredible. It's a career game. He's never scored 30 in a game in his life. He's like, never. Like, not when I was a kid. Like, never. It's Zion. The amount of defenders he takes with him wherever he is, and his ability to see the floor and pass. Like, there's going to be other guys, other role players that just have a night where they get hot. I don't know about 38.
Yeah.
But they're going to have nights similar to Jose. Now, it's different with Jose because he does it on the other end, and he's scrappy, and he's the shortest guy, and he brings all the energy. But they're going to be guys that just, because of Zion, are able to they're going for 30. It's going to happen.
Get open looks.
It's going to happen again. He's healthy. He's feeling it. He's been fantastic. Now they got the Pistons Wednesday, and then they got the Suns twice. Suns in first place in the West. So some big games coming up for the Pels. We'll talk some Saints in a minute as far as confidence level goes for tonight's Monday night game. In the meantime, let's head to the phone lines. Good morning. Welcome into the show. Hello.
Yeah, man. Before I get started, Fred McGriff, I'm not surprised. I always felt that he deserved to get in the Hall of Fame because he wasn't a player who wasn't on PEDs, and he kind of was a natural home run hitter. He led both leagues in home runs at one point in his career, except for the season.
How do you feel about the contemporary baseball era players ballot? It's, it's different than your baseball writers and all that stuff. And I felt like McGriff should have gotten in as well. I mean, I think the closest he had gotten was maybe 69 votes in 2019, but he was really never that close. I like the idea of having players have a little bit of say here.
But once again, they want Bonds and Clemens to just bow down and beg and just cry, and that's not going to happen. So they're not going to get in because they're not playing the game so far. Then you have pricks like Frank Thomas on the committee. That's a whole other conversation. But hey, I want to talk about Jerry Jones, man. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking, even though this picture came out, it's been out like some years ago, but it was never talked about. Now it resurfaced. Who to say Daniel Snyder's not behind all this? I think this is just something. Hey, I'm gonna just throw this out there. Back off of me. You don't think it's like that?
I think it could. I'm not going to dismiss it. Now, we're going to unpack this. For those that don't know, a picture surfaced on the internet last week of Jerry Jones in 1957 when he was, I guess, a young teen, yelling at outside of a school at some black students who were entering when they were segregating a school, and it got some chatter, especially when LeBron brought it up. But it's certainly not a good look. And Jerry talked about it and all that stuff. He said, "Yeah, I have respect for LeBron. It was a long time ago. I've all this other stuff, whatever." I'm just saying, don't you if you're Daniel Snyder and he's scum of the earth, don't you think maybe if you had something on Jerry Jones? I'm not. This is going to sound bad because it's going to sound like I'm not taking the photo serious, which is not my intent at all. But don't you think there could be some more dirt, with him as an adult
warning
or something?
Shot. It was a warning shot. It was just testing the waters. You're just testing the waters with this one. Maybe on the next one, I'll put you in the same trouble as me. Do not play with me.
But he's already going to be selling the team at this point. So he's not in this survival mode like he was, years previous.
So he has to sell the team?
They hired people to essentially, he hasn't publicly said it, but they're going to sell the
Bank
team.
of America.
Yeah.
He's hired Bank of America to kind of look into their funds.
It's happening.
I don't know. I was just thinking maybe Snyder had something to do with it, so he was still.
I wouldn't put it past him, but as far as the timing of it and all, and what it is, it's I don't know. I don't. I'm not totally dismissing it, but I wouldn't bet money on it. Put it that way.
What gets me, it was a long time ago. That's a whole other conversation. It's how we pick and choose what's a long time ago and what's current and what's the past. And we don't want to talk about something. They say he was 14. Emmett Till was also 14 when he got killed.
Yeah. No, look, I don't think I think it probably should have been covered a lot more in the football media than it was. I understand why someone in the I think it should have probably gotten more coverage than it got. But to your point, man, yeah. How long ago is too long ago? What is it exactly? And you're right. There is kind of some picking and choosing that happens when it comes to this kind of stuff.
But who am I? Like I said earlier, who am I? It's a picture. Who to say, on Forrest Gump, when he helped the woman, from the hecklers, the mob, when she tried to integrate the University of Alabama, we had Governor Wallace. I know it was an actor, but it happened in real life. Who to say that he didn't help pick up the young men books while they was helping them out.
I haven't seen Forrest Gump in 27, 28 years. If Jerry would thought he was a peacemaker, he probably would have said as much.
Oh yeah, he would. Yes, that would.
He would have let everyone. He would have let everyone know.
Yeah. But anyway, but yeah, this is like Stephen A. Smith and all them. Jerry Jones would not defend you. So why are you defending that man? I'm sure he has enough people out there who can pick up and take up that slack, man. Look, you have a good one, and thank you.
Thank you. Cowboys have been covered several different ways.
Yeah.
If you missed any of this morning's show, we've covered a lot. It's been awesome. You can listen via the podcast, Great Scott Show podcast, a little bit later this morning. All right, fellas, we teased it. Confidence level, Saints Bucs tonight before we get out of here. 1 to 10. What is your confidence level in the Saints heading into this Monday night matchup against the Bucs?
Before I give my answer, I need a little bit of context. Injury report-wise, Scott, I know you're normally on that. What is the Bucs? Did they have any major players out? Because I haven't been paying attention to the injury report.
I checked it while we were on a break. Tristan Wirfs is out.
Yeah.
He's
they
the only
have,
one. I don't know if he's the only one.
Antoine Winfield, I think, is doubtful.
Yes.
Sean Murphy-Bunting is doubtful. Mike Edwards is doubtful. So they've got a lot of injuries in the secondary.
Okay.
In the secondary.
All right.
And they give up, I don't know, about as many passing yards a game as the Saints do. Neither of these teams are good.
Yeah.
Saints actually average more yards per game than the Bucs and more points per game than the Bucs. Now, they give up 5 more per game than the Bucs, but Tampa's not good. It's like neither is the Saints. As far as the Saints winning tonight, I put the confidence level at 6, but I maintain that they're not going to win the division. It's not going to be this big turning point. It's just going to be fool's gold heading into the bye. That's what I think. So my confidence level in this team this season is like 2. Actually, it's 1. But tonight, I'll put it at 5.5.
I'll go 6. I'll go 6 for tonight for the win.
4.
Because I think so. Here's my thing: the Saints have had Tom Brady's number. The Saints have had Tom Brady's number. The Saints have had Tom Brady's number when Sean Payton was the coach. I just have like last week and in the Ravens game and just the season as a whole. I'm completely all the way out on Dennis Allen, and I just don't think he has. I don't think he has a single shot to beat any team that's worth anything.
I tell you what, you're normally an optimism. Pessimism is not a good look on you.
I'm normally
you look
really
drained, man. I'm so sorry what the Saints have done to you this season.
That's probably how you're going to feel by the end of the game tonight. Drained. That's a good way to describe it.
Because I think this is going to be one of those games. If you remember the first game of the season and that wild comeback over the Falcons, I'm expecting something in the vein of the reverse. Just the Saints come out and they look like, oh man, maybe they can actually win this game. And in the second half, and they just get beaten to death by Tom Brady.
Beaten to death. Well, then you need to adjust it to like 1 or something.
No, because I think because it's Tom Brady. At the end of the day, he could still see those black and gold jerseys or white and gold.
All right,
and just get spooked. But
Saints tonight, catch it on our airwaves. Coaches show tonight, basketball. Coaches show tonight on our airwaves as well from 6 to 7. On location from Pete's, Jay Walker, Coach Broadhead, Coach Marlin. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. We'll talk Saints Bucs. Jay Walker will be in as well for the 8 o'clock hour. Blaise, Nick, thanks, fellas. Great to see you.
Take it easy.
All right, don't go anywhere. This is an instructional video that gets results. The Dan Patrick Show is next.